Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 4 replays in the Independent Era 2 Tech Tree medium tank, the Type 74. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Type 74, this is the entry Era 2 vehicle for the new Japanese Cold War Tech Tree line. What's it like as a tank? Well, for an entry era, it's not too bad. It's capable enough of dealing with itself, you know, being able to do damage and just generally survive the ecosystem in Era 2 at times. Will it get wrecked? Yeah, of course it will. It's an entry Era 2 vehicle. You basically get smashed by the mid and top eras. But you're basically playing the exact same tank as the next tank and the tank at the end. You just have less hit points and slightly less DPM. That's pretty much the Type 74. You're basically the exact same as the 2 tanks after it. You just don't quite have as much DPM, quite the same accuracy in terms of the gun. In terms of the mobility in the armour, it's pretty much exactly the same. You do feel a bit of a jump up from the Type 74 to the Type 74E, but there's not really a jump up between the E and the G. But anyway, the Type 74, like I say, fully capable. It can defend itself well enough. You can have some pretty nice games in it. Are you ever going to come back and play it after you've ground through it to unlock the next tank in the line? No, not really, because you'll get the Type 74E and then the Type 74G, and they are basically the exact same tank, but they're just better than this vehicle. So naturally, it's a kind of get past it kind of tank. Once you get past it and get to the next one, you'll have a bit more fun with it, and then you'll never think about this tank ever again because you've ground past it. But the Type 74, it's got a 60 km/h top speed with a 25 km/h reverse speed. 720 horsepower engine, which is 18.95 horsepower per ton ratio. Now that is the best mobility that this vehicle is going to get without help, because it doesn't actually have an engine upgrade. So right off stock, right off the bat, you've got the best mobility you'll get on the vehicle. 50.14 degrees a second hull rotation speed is pretty quick. It does turn very quickly. Ground resistances on the vehicle, just like a lot of the Cold War vehicles, doesn't really hold the tank back whatsoever. 515 metres of view range is okay for being able to spot for yourself. It's not the best in Era 2, but it's also not the worst. You got 38.92 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed, which is pretty slow. It's slower than the tracks by quite a way, so be careful of that. You've got 0.93 accuracy during rotation, which is not great, to be perfectly honest, with a 2.6 accuracy during movement, which again is pretty terrible. It means the aim circle is massive after turning the tank and after moving, but you do have the siege mode. By pressing left on the D-pad, you'll be able to activate siege mode, and your accuracy, aim time, and dispersion values generally get very, very good, and the aim circle doesn't bloom out, and your gun handling is very, very nice within that mode, as you're seeing here, except for if you don't aim properly and hit a tank in the wrong spot. But there we go. So yeah, you can use the siege mode, and that will get you better gun handling. And the gun handling on this vehicle outside of the siege mode is, yeah, really not very good. You got 0.31 accuracy at 100 meters, which is accurate on paper, but it doesn't feel it unless you're in the siege mode, in which case the gun is absolutely fabulous. You have 12 degrees of gun depression if you are using that siege mode. But if you're not using the siege mode, I think you do have about 6 degrees of gun depression, which is a little bit awkward. 5.62 second reload is 4.9k DPM on this vehicle while you are stock, because these are all the stock values, by the way, of this tank while you're seeing these first 2 replays, because these first 2 replays are completely stock. Did forget to clarify that, but there you go. So we got 5.62 second reload while stock, which is 4.9k DPM, which is so-so, it's okay. It's not terrible, it's also not great, but it's good enough to be able to defend yourself, which is okay. You got 347 penetration on the standard APFSDS round, though, by the way, and that is terrible. 347 pen is just ugh. It's really ugh. That's what it is. You will struggle to pen a lot of vehicles with that penetration, and it will be a massive hindrance when you are playing against a lot of tanks, especially a lot of the mid and top era tanks. You're just going to struggle with that penetration. You got 430 pen on the premium heat rounds, which you're never going to take, because the heat rounds generally aren't that useful against a lot of tanks that have spaced armor all over them, especially like the Soviet vehicles. And you've got 250 penetration on the HE round. Now, the 250 penetration on the HE round is very, very nice, and it's why I run the ammo swapper, because the amount of tanks that you can pen with that HE round is beautiful, and it ups your damage from 460 to 570, and that is very, very nice for the HE round, and it's actually a game changer when you go against things like the Vickers that just died, or a Centurion 9, or any of the Leopards, any of the AMX-30Bs, it just makes your DPM magnificent, because you can pen those sorts of tanks really easily. And also, it's pretty good to use against YOLOing light tanks that do come try and trash you, because you can set them on fire and stuff like that through their tank with the HE as well, and it's really glorious for just upping that DPM massively. It's such an asset to the tank. You got 1501 meters a second shell velocity on that standard APF SDS round, which is amazing shell velocity, with 1173 on the heat and 760 meters a second shell velocity on the HE. So the HE velocity is worse, so be careful of that, and it will be awkward to use at distance because it does loop shells up a little bit. But yeah, that's the stats of the vehicle while it is stock. And as you've seen that first game, pretty standard game, we finished with the victory. 2 kills, 5.4k damage, 96 assistance, the first class, with the 1404 base XP. A pretty decent game there for the Type 74 while completely stock, which, yeah, it was one of those games that we ended up in a situation where we got pressured, and the tanks that were pressuring us were tanks that are a bit higher tier, technically, within the era than us. And we just struggled. And that's the thing with this vehicle, because it is, just like the other Type 74s, it is a support medium tank. It is a support tank. It doesn't want to be the focal point of people's attentions, because you will die very quickly. If you put yourself in good flanking positions, good support locations, you can use the pretty nice DPM to really good advantage, and then just farm up really, really quickly. And that is something that's nice. When you're in the siege mode and you're in a farming position, you will do a good amount of damage, because it is pretty consistent when you're in that siege mode, because the gun handling is just so nice with it. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on this vehicle to get those kinds of statistics while we're stock or while we're fully upgraded? You know, what do we run in terms of a crew? Well, a pretty box standard MBT crew. We run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Trap Mechanic, Clutch Braking, Rapid Aim, the Advanced Loader, the Gun Stabilizer, and the Advanced Reload. Advanced Reload, which is the ammo swapper to be able to switch between the APF SDS and the HE, because it's, like I say, a beautiful asset. The Gun Stabilizer to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible, so that I can at least try and shoot the gun outside the siege mode and hit my targets. You've already seen that in the previous 2 replays when you're not, or in the previous replay and in this replay, when you're not in the siege mode, the gun just loves missing, and it's so frustrating. There it goes, as if by magic. It's so frustrating when it's not in the siege mode, because the gun handling is terrible, but once you switch into the siege mode, it's beautiful. But that's why we run all 3 gun perks as well, because we want to make this gun as good as we can do, so we can just try and hit shots, because it's so frustrating when you're wasting the DPM on this vehicle, and not hitting those shots is just super frustrating. The Rapid Aim to make the turret traverse better, especially to make the turret traverse better, because it's not that great if you don't, and the Clutch Braking just to make the track traverse better. Now, you could quite happily drop the Clutch Braking and run something else instead, because the track traverse is already very good, and it just makes it that much better than the turret. Might be something that irritates you, down to you whether you want to set it up, because as always, there's no real right or wrong way to set these vehicles up. It's usually down to your playstyle and how you feel comfortable playing a vehicle, and how you're going to get the most out of these tanks. That's just what I run in general. It just generally helps everything about the tank. The only thing it doesn't really help is the camo, and you could think about setting up for camo and running a camo net, and then running a camo crew, because you would stay unspotted a little bit easier. And as it is with Cold War generally, a lot of the time, people will end up not using true vision. They'll use the normal spotting system and shoot at the things and focus down the things that are spotted. So if you stay unspotted for longer, you're going to be able to do damage for longer without taking most people's attention, and then you know, you'll be able to survive for longer while doing damage. It's really down to you and how you play it, to be perfectly honest with you. So, this second replay, we've managed to get 5.6k damage so far with 1283 assistance damage. We're here on Dragon's Ridge, which is a map I just generally hate. I don't like this map whatsoever on either World War II or Cold War, especially from this spawn. I don't like this spawn from our side on Cold War. I actually like this spawn when you're in World War II, because this spawn is so much better in World War II, because you've got the campy hill on J6, but no one ever really sits there in Cold War. What tends to happen is what happened a bit in this game, and what's happened in multiple other games I've played in this mode, and that is that everyone just goes and sits at G7, G8, and then doesn't move. The whole team. And you go, oh, this ain't good, and then yeah, you die horribly, which is never great. But we're just trying to keep shots flying into this TR-580. That was lag right there. Random stutters that I keep getting on this game, which is a bit frustrating. Because we fired, well, we pulled the trigger and nothing happened. And then it went, yes, I shall fire now. Great timing, you know. So we're up to 6.8k damage, 2.5k assistance. I've moved myself into a better position on this side of the rock, which keeps me covered from whatever just shot me with an ATGM in the back. And now I can try and farm this to a V up, try and shut him down again, give my team the best chance they have to win the game by getting guns out of it. We're being charged by the Marder. I switched to the HE, 515 damage into that Marder, which is a low roll, but we'll take it. And we finished the game, unfortunately, with the defeat. 4 kills, 8.3k damage, 2.5k assistance, first class, the high caliber for that 827 base XP game while we're completely stock on Dragon's Ridge. We managed to, that showed off what the tank is like even when stock. Managing to fully farm up as much as you humanly can do, you'll have a great time because the tank is very, very good at farming. The problem is, naturally, if you are in that siege mode, which you're going to be, because that's the best way to get the gun handling, because the gun handling is not very good without being in the siege mode, so you really do have to use that siege mode to get the most out of it. If you're in that siege mode and you get YOLO'd, it's quite awkward, because naturally being in the siege mode means that you cut your top speed down by quite a way. And then the bobble is a bit weird as well, the way the suspension manoeuvres on ridge lines and stuff like that, it just makes the whole tank feel a bit awkward, and it can be just a bit frustrating when you get in those sorts of situations. But there's also plenty of situations where you can put yourself in good position to support and fire without being pressured like that. It's just that, well, I suppose it's like that with every other entry area vehicle, to be fair. The entry area vehicles, as soon as they're put under any kind of pressure by something with a little bit of armour, they just melt, and it is what it is. But that's something that the Type 74s have in general, is that if they get YOLO'd or they get pushed aggressively by something that's quite strong armour-wise, it's a bit of a struggle. It really is. So now, with this third replay that we are seeing here, we have managed to get ourselves fully upgraded in our Type 74. So we've still got the same top speed that we had while we were fully upgraded. Same power to weight, because that doesn't change. We've got better ground resistances, which again, don't really hold the tank back anyway, so whatevers. We've got 52.32 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed now, so it's just that little bit quicker. 543 meters of view range, which is really good. Will help us spot quite easily in Era 2. We've got 43.79 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed now, so the turret does turn faster, which is very nice for the Type 74. 0.85 accuracy during rotation, so it's got 0.6 better, was it? 0.6 better, something like that. So we've got a little bit better on the accuracy during rotation. 2.22 accuracy during movement now as well, which has got a lot better than it was. We'll take it. 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters, which is pretty accurate, with a 5.47 second reload, which means that we've got near 5k DPM now, which, again, it's one of those things. 5k DPM's alright, and to be fair, for an entry area vehicle, that's pretty nice. It's just that, like I said, that's where you start to go, this is where it's a get past it tank, because a lot of the vehicles that you'll be facing a lot of mid to top era tanks quite commonly, like Mr. Brenner's over there. They will shred you. And especially if you're thinking about going to get something like the 30Bs, they have good DPM on the main cannon, and then they have an autocannon alongside it. And the autocannon will pen you very easily, because you are literally made of spit and Kleenex. And don't go anywhere near a Gao Avenger. Don't go near an Avenger whatsoever, Gao 8. Don't do it. Because they will, your hit points evaporate, because they can pen you very easily. Yeah, pain. So that's something to be careful of with the Type 74. But that's the statistics of the Type 74 while it is fully upgraded. And as you've seen in this game so far, we've managed to get 5,600 damage now with 399 assistance. And that's where the HE is a thing of beauty, except for when you fire it at tanks that do move like that. Because again, you do over 500 damage, it's lovely. We've switched to the APFS DS though, so that we can get that shell velocity over the distance. So it makes it easier to hit things like that Weasel and the Rickety Panzer if you decided to move. And we're just trying to keep shots flowing into that ELC if he's on his move. Did I say Weasel? It's an ELC. It's a Pedro. It's a pest anyway. Pest control is needed for these kind of things, okay? We're just looking at the Rickety Panzer, and yeah, he is dead, so we don't have to worry about a guy. We end up locking onto the TR-125, so I'm just seeing if I can actually feather a shot at this guy, and it must be his turret that I can see, which means I'm not quite finding the shot into that TR-125. So we switch out of the siege mode so that we get our full mobility back, and we're going to travel. And this is where you could think about, you know, because not everybody is going to be able to utilise the HE on this vehicle. I know that. I like the HE because 250 pen is great. That will pen a lot of vehicles in this era. And if you use the ammo swapper and you get up behind people, let's say your DPM goes through the roof, and it can really turn the tide of a battle very fast against tanks that aren't so suspecting of it. But the HE can be awkward to use, because you have to find the right targets to use it against. A lot of people might find it better to run the traction system instead of the ammo swapper, so that they can go at 66 kilometers an hour, and they will find a lot more use out of that for going that extra top speed. Again, there's no real right or wrong way to set it up, but I just feel better with having the ammo swapper so I can use the HE to be fantastic, and that's the same that I'll do all the way up the line. But yeah, you might be better running traction system to have that better top speed. So as you can see with that third game, we finished the game with the 1 kill, 6.9k damage, at least 7k damage. The first class, the Confederate, with 1399 base XP. A pretty damn nice game there for the Type 74 on that map, which was Westfield. And yeah, it just showed off what the tank is like when you are fully upgraded and you get yourselves into those nice farmy locations. You can just keep the damage flowing gloriously. But I would say that naturally, you could also just do that in any of the M60s. You could do that in the Leopards. You could also do that in any of the MX-30Bs as well. And you wouldn't really have to contend with the siege mode as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like it adds a little bit of nuance to the gameplay, and it adds a bit of variety, right? And the fact that you've got to learn how to use it differently. And that's always nice. Variety of the spice of life, right? It's just that they struggle in comparison to those vehicles at times, because what can we do that they can't do better, right? That's just one of those disappointing things, really. I'd probably say that's the disappointing thing I've had with the Era 2s in general, is that, yeah, it feels they're pretty good. They can stand up for themselves pretty nicely, but they don't have anything that I couldn't do without having to use the awkward siege mode. That's what I'm trying to say, really. So, we're on the fourth and final replay. And the fourth and final replay, we're on this map, which is Ardennes. In Ardennes, we've charged up the 1-2 line because there's plenty of ridge lines that we can use here. Use the siege mode, using the good gun depression to our advantage to get shots in. We come over the ridge, switch to HE, and smash the T62 for 551. T62 is the perfect tank to be shooting this 250 pen HE at. 553, get another one in for 544, and that's just how fast it can rack up damage. When you can pen tanks like that, that are very easy to pen, and naturally, as a Type 74, as an entry-era vehicle, you will still get matched up against other entry-era vehicles, so you're more likely to see the entry-era vehicles that you can pen with HE easier than you are in the following vehicles, but it's still the matchmaking means you'll see top-era vehicles a lot anyway. But yeah, the HE is more viable on this tank, especially because of the fact that it's more likely to see the tanks that are easy to pen, like the T62. Like the Centurion 9, like Type 74s, like AMX-30B, like the Leopard 166, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we get a nice shot there into the Sheridan on the move, but I'm trying to get in to help shoot the T80B, and you see the gun handling outside of the siege mode, that tried its best to go above the T80B there. It hit the back of the turret and penned it, but we were aiming at the bottom of his tank, and it still went, yeah, I'm just going to miss now. You know, thanks, gun. Thanks for that. So we switched to the siege mode to see if we could get a shot into the Sheridan, but we're just going to come over and get a shot into the BZ-T70, because if we can get rid of this guy, that'd be great. Naturally, he has a massive gun, and massive guns hurt, so we put a big shot into the, I say a big shot, we put a shot there into the BZ-T70 that finishes him off. And we're just going to go see where their team is, and it's like, oh my goodness gracious me, that's a lot of their team. Okay, we're going to back up, back up, back up. Put a shot through the T80B. You never know, if you hit those things, you might set them on fire. The Type 74 comes up. We get a nice shot straight into the drive wheel. Again, I'm trying to pin him. Now he's tracked. I'm going for the HE. And unfortunately, we ended up hitting the wrong spot there. I think we hit the track of the Type 74. So we didn't actually pen him with the HE. While his lower plate was up in the breeze, that's what I was going for. Look for the shot with the APDS into, or APFSDS into the T80B. But sadly, the shot just went low, and we switched back into the siege mode so we can have the better gun, because I'd actually dropped out of it. But we're just trying to find a shot into the TR-85, not quite finding it. Oh, shots are going out. The gun's letting us down a little bit here as we're trying to hit these shots. The Magak 3, we managed to track and pen that guy. Again, we're always going for tracks. If people are giving me the opportunity to track and pen them like that Magak 3, it's what we're going to do, because it keeps them pinned. It means our team can focus them down. It gets a gun out of the game. It feeds me assistance damage, which in the end, while we're grinding, feeds me XP. Oh my lord, we detonated that poor guy as well. So we'll go for the shot into the Type 79. Hopefully get the shot into him before the bobble gets us. There we go, we got the shot in. And thankfully the bobble didn't get involved because the bobble can be a bit frustrating. We put a shot into the back of the Type 74, putting him down to a one-shot. If we can finish that guy off again, get a gun out of the game, that'd be great. But sadly, we just missed the shot as he got back behind cover, but he came back on top of the ridge because of course he did. We shut down the Type 74, again trying to help this medium tank out as much as possible, but we get shot by the T-80B with an ATGM. He takes a lot of our hit points away. The Type 79 hits us, puts us down to a one-shot. We're at 8.9k damage, and I'm not liking the looks of this. For me, it's not going to be a good time. Brennus goes in, tries to get a shot into the Type 80, the T-80B. We put a shot that hits the upper plate and bounces. There, other T-80Bs coming, and I'm seeing my death now. My death is incoming. Can we get another shot here? And sadly, if you go over the side like that, you end up having awkward gun elevation issues because of the suspension. And we got shut down. And finished the game with 3 kills, 8.9k damage, 1300 assistance. The ace tanker, the high caliber, the Confederate, 1025 base XP on a loss. A really great game for the Type 74. And again, in that position where we can just keep farming, it will rack up damage really quickly. It's just a shame there that we ended up just not being quite helped like we needed to be there to keep getting guns out of the game. But hey, that's the Type 74. It is the entry era vehicle for the Japanese Cold War tech tree. It's alright, but you will be getting past it to get to the better vehicles along the line. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!